2025 marks the 50th anniversary of China-EU diplomatic ties. It is a timely opportunity to examine how the relationship is evolving amid geopolitical tensions and economic rebalancing. Joining us today is George Zogopoulos. He is EU-China Program Director at the Center International Information European. He has long researched the China-EU relations and European foreign policy. Welcome, George.
Thank you for having me. It's always a great pleasure to be here with Beijing Review.
We know that 2025 marks the 50th anniversary of diplomatic ties between China and the EU. And the two sides have been trading partners for a long time, for decades. So what do you think is the most important element in the bilateral economic ties?
I would say that trade and investments, for example, mark a characteristic example of win-win collaboration between the two. So if we are looking at the trade numbers, how they looked in the past and how they are looking today, then the progress is indicative of the common will of both sides to proceed together in the economic sphere. The most important thing is that the two sides are talking to each other and that dialogue is continuing. That's why, for example, the July EU-China summit took place in Beijing. And at the same time, there are synergies concerning climate change. There is a digital dialogue which is progressing, and also there is a dialogue with a new format of conversations about export controls, chips, and technology. So all this demonstrates that the two sides are prepared, the one way or the other, to find a joint way forward.
We also concern about Trump's administration's tariff against the rest of the world. What do you think is the biggest impact Trump's tariffs has created on EU's economy?
Certainly, the European Union is not interested in being engaged in a trade war with the United States. At the same time, of course, a lot depends on the trust which has been agreed between Presidents Xi and President Trump of the United States. If this trust holds, then this will constitute good news not only for China and the United States, but also for the European Union. I would say that relations between China and the European Union follow their own trajectory. So I wouldn't consider necessarily the policies of President Trump as a factor which is impacting on relations between China and the European Union.
China proposed the Global Governance Initiative recently. Right now, I think the world is quite far from secure and safe. So what do you think is urgently needed to promote peace and development?
The more China grows, the more its voice is heard in the international system. So its proposal about global governance is certainly important. But beyond the proposal itself, there is a big question that is being asked: up to what extent the new world will be anchored to the role of the United Nations or no. The United Nations is not losing its popularity. What is happening is that some of the permanent members of the Security Council do not necessarily value the role of the United Nations in the world, and they follow the policy of unilateralism. If we look at how the European Union is acting in the international system, it opts for multilateralism. And that's why I said that there is an opportunity to look at the role that the United Nations need to play in today's world. It's important also to look at China's role in contributing to peace during the Second World War. Because without the crucial sacrifices of China and of the Chinese people, perhaps the duration of the Second World War might have been prolonged with consequences for the international system. And not much is known about this in the West. So it's quite important to look at the history of the Sino-Japanese War and the importance of the Chinese resistance in contributing to peace during the Second World War. Right, this is very important.